Hello everyone and welcome back to Send It's Weather channel, where today we are looking at the latest from the CFS model to see what it is showing for November in particular and also December, because let me tell you folks, it is actually quite encouraging compared to my November forecast I released yesterday, and this is the idea that I'm actually going for. So it is brilliant that the CFS is going for it today. So I'm going to run through this and show you what it is showing, and I'll go through everything as we go along. If you do enjoy today's video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I do appreciate your continued support. We've just passed 2,300 subscribers, and that's all thanks to you lot. So let's get straight on. Obviously, with the current conditions, it's very dry, high pressure dominated, at least for the next 10 days. But I'm sure we'll be back looking at them when things get a little bit more interesting, which they might do at the end of the month. But the trend is high pressure dominated. But anyway, looking at this CFS run, we're going to start 1st November, looking mostly on November, to be honest. Now, if you remember in my November forecast, I said it would be unsettled, but this run is actually keeping higher pressure mostly to the south throughout the first couple of weeks of November. It does keep higher pressure to the south, so we are mostly dry and probably quite mild, to be fair, with winds in from a southwesterly direction. The 10-degree firm getting into the south at times. It's pretty mild on the whole. But you can see ridging does take place out to our west by the 10th of November. Brief Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland and a cold north-northeasterly wind on the back edge. So slightly colder there, and maybe even wintry in the north and the east with some frost and fog around. You can see the higher pressure returning back to its position just over into the south of the country before you can see signs of what's about to happen. Higher pressure beginning to ridge out to our west in the Atlantic, trying to ridge out, and then it properly sends the high into retrogression. It sends it up towards Greenland, and as you can see, it's going to send it there, send it to Scandi. It's going to take that low pressure eastwards, and we're going to bring down that cold northwesterly wind, which it does so. So as you can see, high pressure's ridge towards Greenland and Iceland, and we're bringing down a cold north to northwesterly wind. So pretty cold there. An area of low pressure sinking southwards through the North Sea, probably bringing in some snow showers there. A little low in the flow, bringing some snow showers through the North Sea, so maybe to eastern regions within that. We've got some cold air aloft covering the country, and we have higher pressure just established to our west. A proper, quite blocked and quite cold airflow, really, with a northeasterly wind around that. We've got areas of low pressure pushing into that flow. That could be snow potential. Look at that. An area of low pressure drops southwards. We've got a ridge out in the Atlantic remaining. Obviously, it turns milder for a time, but within that, because it's green air masses, there might be some snow around, especially for elevated areas before, as that clears away into Eastern Europe. Higher pressure returns back northwards, up towards Greenland, I should say, and returns or resurges that northerly wind back in. Before it really does start to build, that higher pressure really does build out to our west, and we do bring in more into the start of December of an easterly wind, so a prolonged cold spell really. It doesn't really get much milder. Probably lots of frost, fog, and probably even lots of snow as well. -10 line through the country, but we're under a ridge there, so it would turn. Probably won't be as snowy, but definitely plenty of potential with little streamers, plenty of cold nights, harsh overnight frosts and fog maybe. You can see the high pressure just maintains out to our west for a long time. We do see another area of low pressure within the flow, diving southwards, but again, that actually this time has the milder air wrapped within it, but on the outskirts of it, so on the southern flank of it, we still have that cold northwesterly wind. So it actually probably would bring in quite a bit of snow for northern Scotland, and that sinks southwards, and we return the colder air through the country, and that northwesterly wind maintains. But it does turn a little bit milder at the end, so obviously by the 15th, 16th of December, we lose the ridging briefly, but still remaining pretty changeable. Christmas Day there might actually be cold for the north, maybe the isolated wintry showers, but we are under higher pressure, so a very interesting pattern for the end of November, start December. But there will be a lot of snow there as well. For the rest of the run, it's very unsettled. Lower pressure moving in from off the Atlantic is the general trend. Higher pressure does build towards Scandinavia, but there's not really much cold air to tap into. You can see into the start of March, higher pressure ridging back northwards, bringing back an east-northeasterly wind, but of course, we've got to consider the time of year when bringing in these bitterly cold air masses again, before that does again sink southwards, so probably unlikely to verify with that one. We can actually see the latest 6Z run from the CFS it's just releasing, but you can see it actually brings the cold air through by the 23rd of October, actually bringing a northerly wind, which there's a lot of uncertainty about that. But skipping to the start of November, you can see higher pressure is centred to the south, lower pressure to the north, winds in for a westerly direction. Do have a brief northerly snap there into the second week of November, but again, it's very brief and doesn't really bring too much in besides slightly cooler air. Before again, look at this. Into the end of the run, higher pressure is over the top of the country, might bring some quite harsh overnight frost and fog, and maybe some inversions as well, but it is a mild southwesterly it turns into the long term. But you can see higher pressure again makes its move, pushes out to our west around the same time, and again brings in that northerly wind into the final week of November. So a cold northerly wind, -5 line through the country, weather fronts associated with that, separating the colder air from the milder air as it slips southwards. You can see that weather front is around here. Got an area of low pressure slipping southwards through the North Sea, and we're bringing in a northerly wind. And again, higher pressure, it's not as cold, I mean, it's not as blocked with this run, but again, -5 line through the country remains for a few days. We do see higher pressure ridge back through the country for a time, before again it ridges out slightly to our west with a northwesterly wind. So less snowy, but still quite cold here, with a northwesterly wind around the area of high pressure. So I'd say still pretty cold there. And then skipping into the December period, higher pressure just basically maintains out to our west. Tries to build northwards, but the low pressure towards Greenland is a little bit too strong to allow that to happen. Do try and get easterlies going. High pressure tries to move to Scandinavia, and we do get a brief easterly wind. Maybe some snow showers in the far south on the 19th, but not too much going on there. And skipping to the final frame, the 24th of December, higher pressures ridging back out in the Atlantic, lower pressures to the east, and, well, it's kind of, we're under the centre of the high, but again, cold air returning, so very interesting signs. So we've had one run which was, blocked and quite dry, probably quite harsh overnight frost in places, particularly in the north and the southeast. And we've also seen a run that was pretty cold and snowy, quite wintry, for the first week of December into the second week. And have another run that looks like it's setting up a cold Christmas. So it's all to play for. Now, unfortunately, something which is not all to play for at the moment, or is with this run, and I'm just going to zoom in for you all, is the CFS. So here you go. November 2025, the latest CFS idea, a complete contrast from yesterday, by the way, is that we will have higher pressure centred over France, and winds will drag in from a southerly direction, low pressure to the west. Now, that is a really bad sign for if you're a winter lover like me, especially November time. And December's even worse. We've got higher pressure centred over into the south of the country. The Cant forecast snow model strikes again. Higher pressure over and just to the south of the country. Lower pressure towards Greenland and Iceland. And we're probably bringing up a southwesterly wind. And if you look at the rest of it for winter, it's pretty mild, probably high and dry. Anticyclonic doom and gloom. So that is not really favourable. So yeah, if you did find today's video informative, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I appreciate all your continued support, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.